Damn these Biloxi blues, it happens every night.
Every night.
And I ain't never met a riverboat dealer that could ever be a friend of mine.
Nope.
The summer heat never treats me kind, it leaves trouble on my mind. So I'm bidding farewell, putting in my notice, and I'll see you at another time. This highway does not know my name, and I don't care. No, I don't care. Headed my way for another place, and I got 3 good tires and a spare.
Right to the hook right here.
Just a white line gypsy getting out of Mississippi with just enough gas to get there.
Low budget live, not so live from the Low Budget Live Bar and Grill. Good old steamy hot Southern Middle Tennessee. Hope all you low lifers are doing well out there. And this is the podcast for Monday, July 11th, 2022. And July 11th is a very important, special day in my life because that is the triple threat, Marissa D. That is her birthday, indeed. So happy birthday to the one and only triple threat, the only woman that's really ever been able to put up with me, and to be honest, doesn't do that well at it all the time. I'm a lot, ladies and gentlemen, but happy birthday to Marissa. We had a really fun weekend celebrating. I talked about it last week. I typically throw I hope I never get too old to throw my own birthday parties, but we always have a shindig around the 4th of July. Have lots of friends over and family and friends that are like family. I think that's a very important thing in life. But we always just do it up. Lots of food, lots of just good times. And this year, kicked it up a notch with my friends. They've been on the podcast, the band Town. John Decius and Stevie Steves came down from Nashville, played in the backyard. And in typical Luke Duncan fashion, I borrowed a huge, like 38-foot gooseneck trailer to put 2 people on for a backyard performance. But it was awesome. They were fantastic. Everybody had a great time, and they ended. We dodged a bullet. We haven't had rain in like 2 weeks, and of course it rained during the day leading up to it, and it kept just like menacing, like it was going to. And they were halfway through their last song, and the bottom fell out, man. And we had to do some moving and shaking. They finished the song like pros, but we had to go grab it. I had a lot of my music equipment out there, and they had theirs, and we had to do it. It went from party to everybody being on the road crew for the band Town. But we had a great time there celebrating. My birthday was on the 3rd, and Marissa's birthday that is today, July 11th. So very, very good time. Very good time. Thanks to the band Town. And go look them up, TOWNE Town, if you have not. They're just, they're fantastic and great, great people that I'm grateful to be friends with for many, many, many years. I needed, I will say though, I needed a good time because this week, and this is, I'm posing this to the low lifers. This week I had a very interesting thing happen to me. It's the first time it's ever happened to me in my life. And it was actually, to just not sound like a total scaredy cat, if you will, it terrified me because it happened so fast. And I had lots of thoughts after, like, man, what if that had been a kid? What if this, blah, 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 you know. But Goose and I, my lab, we were walking behind my house, and Goose is a terrible dog. Okay, he's terrible. So he's on a leash if he's out because he kills chickens and neighbors' cats, and like he's just, you know, and he's a sweet dog. He means well, right? But he just he can't keep it together all the time. So, but love him. And we had walked down. There's a creek behind my house, and we'd gone down there. It was really hot, and I'd let him go cool off in the creek, and we're coming back up the hill from the creek there, and he's ahead of me on like a retractable leash, you know, and he's like, I don't know, a good 10, 12 feet up ahead of me. And all of a sudden he starts like biting at his like shoulder, you know, and I'm like, what's up? You know, so I'm scanning for snakes. Like, did he get bit by a snake? And And all of a sudden, dude, just bah, 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 bah. Those little flying just menaces to the nature world, yellow jackets. He had stirred up a yellow jacket's nest, and I have been around them deer hunting. I've been around them riding a tractor, lawnmower many times. I've never been stung. When I tell you those just, they got down in my boots. I had on rubber boots, up over my calves. Down in my boots, just on my leg. I don't know how many times I got hit, but the last one was on my eyelid right here. This is like Wednesday, I guess. And dude, I didn't know whether I was coming or going. Goose's leash gets right. I run. I take off. Leash is wrapped up around a little sapling tree. He won't come off. I just said, hey, buddy, never leave a man behind. But you standing there taking this, and I'm not taking any more of it. So I drop his leash. He comes running immediately, thank God. Dude, I was like lightheaded, super. And I have family members that are deathly allergic to that. Luckily, I'm not. I didn't even swell up that bad. They finally stopped hurting yesterday, but they itch like poison. It's bizarre. But why? Comment below if you are a flying insect expert. Why in the hell do we need yellow jackets? And I read online, because you got to Google everything, right? Why or how many? That was my question. I was like, just everything. I learned everything I could about yellow jackets in about 5 minutes on Google. And there are like 5,000 to 10,000 of them little suckers in every little hole, from what Google says. What? I don't know. But man, all I thought was, because I know people do absolutely die from that. Like if you were to fall on that like spot where there's some mean little turds, man. I mean, mean. So hope all y'all's week was better than that, because, oh, God, your boy was not feeling the yellow jacket love. Good God almighty. And I came running back here from the woods pretty good ways, just dove in the pool. Marissa comes out like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm on fire, like head to toe. And I think the craziest thing is it took like a full 30 seconds to acknowledge what was happening when you start getting lit up by them, because they're so damn fast. You can't see them. And all of a sudden, you just got this burning pain, and you're like, what? And I silhouetted them against Goose's white. And so I silhouetted them against Goose, and then, realized we had a problem very quick. Poor Goose. He got lit up and took it like a champ, and I was ready to puke, freaking jump right off the bluff into the creek. I didn't care. I was just ready to get away from them damn things, man. They were out for blood. So if any yellow jackets listening out there, I hope y'all die. So, moving on, sponsors. I needed some Startron. I need to pour some Startron in that hole and then put some gas in it and then throw a match in it where these daggum yellow jackets are. I wish, yellow jackets are the ethanol of the world. They're the ethanol threat to your outboard engine. But you know what takes care of that? I don't know if it takes care of yellow jackets. Just full disclosure. But it will take care of ethanol. Kicks it right in the teeth. Startron, put a little dab in your tank. Get it out of your weed eater. Get it out of your chainsaw. Get it out of your lawnmower. But most importantly, get it away from your outboard engine. Don't gum up the works with that ethanol madness. Kick it in the teeth with some Startron. We appreciate the folks from Floridas down there. Startron, Starbright, bringing you LBL for many, many years now. Pro Guide batteries. The new lithiums are bad to the bone. The 31 series AGM I run as my cranking battery, bad to the bone. Also ran it as a trolling motor battery. If you're not looking to go lithium, they're a great option as well. Just a lot heavier than the lithium, but they absolutely stand up to the test. You can get yours at ProGuideBatteries.com. Use code LBL10 to let them know you are a low lifer. All right, I got a good one for you. Baitworks.com. We're all about using that code Duncan-10 to let them know you're a low lifer for all things tackle needed. They got it. They got more coming in every single day, but they're running a really cool July sale. And right now, and I'm gonna do some videos on this stuff, but right now, like Zoom products, all Zoom products, month of July, 20% off. So it's really cool. Now, I will say the code, I might have said this last week, might have been corrected. The code does not work in addition to that, so you're not going to get like 30% off. But I will put a link in the description on both the podcasts on YouTube and on the audio links, but you can go check it out. And Lots more products fixing to go on sale. I got the teaser email on it, and it's a really cool thing that they're doing for the month of July. So go check it out, Baitworks.com. But for all your other purchases, throw that Duncan Dash 10 in there, save you some money, let them know you are a low-lifer. Last but certainly not least, right here. Where's it at? Oh, right there it is. Express Boats, the Bassmaster Classic. Bassmaster Classic. First ever Bassmaster Classic won in aluminum boat. Express Boats, Hot Springs, Arkansas. That X21 Pro is going to its new owner next week. That new bad boy is waiting on me in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I cannot wait. It's got the C deck, got the new Yamaha show, got the power pole blades. We are ready to go. Garmin's, of course, bow to stern again. We're going to get after it in that new Express. But Express Boat's the official boat of Low Budget Live and the Traveling Circus. If you go take a ride in one, you will not believe it, especially that X21. It is absolutely one of my favorite bass boats I've ever ridden in. Love it, bow to stern, everything about it. Express Boats building excitement since 1966. All right. So, got ICAST coming up, got lots of things. It's been, this time of year, I feel like the pro fishing trails really, other than MPFL, because we're so spread out, only 6 events, but we are spread out, cram so many events in the first few months. And man, it's like slow news time right now. There's just not a ton going on. Of course, the elites kick back up this week at the St. Lawrence River. We just wrapped up a Bassmaster Open there at Lake Oneida. Huge congratulations to Casey Smith on that win. I think that's, he's very familiar with that body of water. Really, really cool story where he fished on the shoal where he actually won while his wife was pregnant with his son. And then on the final day, he had caught a couple fish, but his wife and son showed up on the water to watch him on the same show. Man, like that's top notch. Like, that gives me chills when I was reading that article. But congrats to Casey getting to go to the Bassmaster Classic, which, never sucks. I can imagine getting to fish that is a great time. All of us tournament anglers would like to do that. Another congratulations going out to my buddy Cody Meyer, old California kid himself. A 4th place finish. And more importantly, in that points race, man, he's up there in those Northern Opens with 1 more to go. He's the first guy out right now from an elite invite. And BPT, angler, right? So it goes without saying that there will be some decisions coming up. You got Keith Poche up there in the overall points. You got Keith Poche mixing it up in that Northern Open division as well. I mean, is he trying to get out of there? Then you got Burge in the Southern Opens mixing it up as well. He was going to fish all of them, but he had a conflict because of one of the BPT events. He couldn't make the James River, so I think Burge is out of the Northerns now, and he's fishing the Centrals and the Southerns. But 2 Centrals to go, 1 Southern, 1 Northern. Then you're going to see some invites get kicked out there. But it just always – it's interesting, man. The faces will change. I think Bass Pro Tour will look a lot different roster-wise next year because I think you're going to see some guys leave. You're going to see new guys come in from the pro circuit, and you may see I think those are your 3 right now, Poche, Meyer, and Birds, that have the best chance of qualifying for the Elite Series. Is that their goal? I don't know necessarily. I think it would be safe to say they would not be fishing those if it wasn't their goal, especially like a guy like Poche fishing all 9. But we'll see. We shall see. We are going to get right now one of my – I'm texting him right now because he's being difficult. He's always difficult. You'll find that out here in a second. If you're listening to this and not watching to see me text, my guest today is like, when do I call in? He's so excited. Full disclosure. This is one of my absolute favorite dudes to solve the world's problems with, and we never probably get anywhere. I don't know. No agenda today. No topics. Haven't had him on in a while, and 2 or 3 people actually last week commented this and sent me like, hey, you need to get Fat Todd Castledine back on the podcast. But Todd has won over $500,000 in professional bass fishing. Fished the FLW Tour for a couple years. He's qualified for the Elite Series several times. Turned down the invite every time. He has a very unique perspective on pro fishing, especially from a guy that is a stone-cold assassin when it comes to catching bass, especially in Texas. But beyond, man, the guy's however many time. I think he's set the record for Toyota Series Angler of the Years. Incredible, incredible fisherman. I'm proud to call him a friend, and we're going to get him on the phone right now. We're just going to ramble. We're going to see what he thinks about all the goings on in bass fishing. Ladies and gentlemen, Todd Castledine.
Hello.
What's up, my brother? How
What's
are you?
going on?
Man.
I'm good.
Man, I just gave you this wonderful intro that I don't think Bradley Hallman, I don't think Andrew Upsh, I don't think anybody you run with thinks as much of Todd Castledine as Luke Duncan. I'm just saying. Like I built you up as this legendary angler, and so now you got to back it up on the podcast once again, buddy. I'm glad you're back. It's been a minute.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been, and I don't think you're doing your thing on YouTube and you're fishing tournaments, and it's like you got your family stuff. I'm the same way. Like I got all these irons in the fire, and you got a big boy day job too. We'll get to that if you're allowed to talk about that. I think you are.
Oh yeah.
I think it's very, very cool setup that you've got, but I just don't think because you're one of those dudes that I feel like, I need to have a Castledine segment once a month. Because we just solve the world's problems so many times together. I feel like
that is true. I feel like when we do call each other at random times,
yes.
And we do solve a lot of things.
Yes, and so that's what this is. But somebody had a couple comment last week, like, you gotta get Castledine on. And then I had a couple DMs on Instagram, and I said, I'm gonna text Todd. We're gonna do the thing. You're first of all, thank you, because you're at the beach with your lovely family for your annual Castledine's takeover. Are you in Pensacola again?
Navarre, but basically, it's like 10 minutes down the road. Same thing.
Same place you always catch them big redfish and all that.
Yeah, I didn't get to today. I had a whole bunch of family things. I had a swim meet all yesterday, and we got done at 2:00 and then drove. After being in 106-degree weather in a swim meet till 2:00 in the afternoon, then we drove to Florida that same day.
Gee.
As a 9-hour drive. So we got in around 12.
But that's what you do all the time, though, in fairness. Like, you are a pro at a lot of things, but driving is one of them you're really good at.
Yeah, and I think we all are.
Yeah, you have to be. But that right there is a typical example of like how busy families are these days. Like you got to get it in when you can fit it in, right? Like, we're going to go on vacation. This is what we're going to do. These are the dates we got. And the Castledine kiddos are about as busy as you are. They stay after it, man. I love it.
Yeah, they get after it. My wife keeps putting them in more and more things. And like I'll look up one day and they're like, what'd you do today? I'm like, I did 8 hours of practice. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I played some soccer and some baseball and some swimming and drove them here. And I was like, she keeps on putting them in more stuff. And then I end up taking them to it. And I'm like, hey, you gotta slow down a little bit.
You're like, how'd I get caught up in this sometimes? But they're both fantastic athletes like you guys are. And I think the last time I talked to you were leaving soccer. We were talking a few weeks ago on the phone when I was traveling around and out in Arkansas and talked to you. But man, I always, and this is how I introed you, part of it was your perspective on fishing has always been, on pro fishing, I should say. And fishing and like catching bass, your perspective is amazing. I like one of my favorite guys to talk to about just why something pops to you or what your approach to tournaments, like but your overall, to me, your take, and I think that's why your channel's popular. You're brutally honest. And you also
you emphasize
brutally. No, but I'm the same way, right? Like you and I are cut from the same cloth, and we've always been able to somehow make it work because people with our personality types aren't normally buds, I think, or they have fallen outs at some point. I've got a couple of those in my history, right? Obviously.
But see, me and you've always thought
similar.
Me and you can look at it in a realistic.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Like your perspective is it's real. Like it's so real. It's not fantasy. It's like it's real life decision making and perspective. I love it, man.
Well, I appreciate it. And like I said, I mean, I just kind of look at everything as a whole. And like I said, I mean, Yeah, and the problem with the problem with why people kind of view us a certain way, like there's a lot of guys that really like, honestly, I always thinking about those reporters for like like professional athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
They hate the guy who gives the bland answer and the perfect answer. And then as soon as someone actually gives them brutal honesty, they instantly go, man, you need to keep your opinions to yourself. And you're like, well, man, you've been asking me for 5 years to be open and honest. And and I think that's part of the problem is that a lot of people love to hear it because they know we're not trying to. There's no clickbait in what we say.
No,
we're just like,
really,
hey,
I mean,
it's not
the goal.
There's
Like I never
zero.
I never hit the red button on the show. I'm like, ooh, this is going to be juicy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there was a time where everything was firing, right? Like where all that, like back in 2019 with the MLF stuff and all that, and everything was a soundbite. Everything that I said was taken however it was taken. But no, you're right. You don't start, oh, well, I'm going to get them stirred up with this.
I find out. Yeah, I find out later. I'll say something. I'm like, that was y'all, and not really controversial. They'll just be like, oh, that was a kind of a hot take there. I'm like, really? I was like, I thought we all knew that. Like,
collectively, we were here thinking the same thing.
Yeah. And so, I just, but it's a weird deal. And I think we've always looked at it the same. And I know a lot of people look at it as, well, man, you're down on something. And I'm like, no, there's a difference between being down on something and just saying what the honest truth is, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not all like butterflies and rainbows out there fishing.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
And then, and then some other guys are like, man, I'm so glad. I don't know how many parents I've had come up to me and be like, I'm so glad you say what you say or do this to, like, so these kids kind of understand. I'll never forget this. This wonderful family, like great family at my church, their son wanted to go fishing. It was in January. I was pre-fishing for a BFL in January, right, on Rayburn. I can tell you how cold that was.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, but so he had off from high school, so he wasn't going in that little week period. And I was like, yeah, tell him to come on, man. So they met me at the ramp at 6 a.m. It's a nice 30 degrees in the morning. And we run around and of course, me, I'm like, we're shaking fish off. No, it's still January. We ain't shaking that many fish off. Like, it's hard to get
a lot of bites. Yeah.
Yeah. So we might have got like 6 or 7 bites. And I'll never forget, like, by the end of the day, he wasn't just hopping up to the front of the boat when we'd stop somewhere.
Yeah.
And I hop up. I make about 3 casts in the grass. And I catch a 4.5 pounder. Boy, he jumps up there. And I pick up the trolling motor. And I'm like, all right, man, it's about time to go in. And he looks at me like, whoa, you just got no what? And I'm like, yeah, man.
Like, he's like, it's starting to happen, buddy. Like, we need to be fishing. Yeah.
And so we get done, and I don't know, he might have caught one that day, and I might actually, I caught one. So we get done, and man, I was kind of, thought whatever. And I didn't think about the day, but I probably had about 4 phone calls that day that I had to take for something. So I'm fishing with my phone on the front deck, just making plans for wherever we're going to stay for 2 weeks from now. You know how that goes.
Oh yeah.
And we get done. And anyway, so tournament's over on Saturday. That was on a Friday or Thursday or Friday. Tournament happens. I think I did all right. I show up Sunday to church and I see his mom. And like I said, I know this family very, very well. And, his mom comes up to me and goes, I need to talk to you after church. And I'm like,
you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah. And I get done and I see her and she's like, thank you so much for taking him. Like that just opened up his eyes. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? She goes, I don't think he wants to be a professional fisherman anymore. And I'm like, oh no. And she goes, no. She was like, you did nothing wrong. You just did what you know, like you did what your your job is. And he realized what that job consisted of. It was not what he thought it was.
Exactly.
And I'm like, and I wasn't, I was like,
and you weren't even probably going that hard in the paint because it was Rayburn and you knew what you were going to do most likely. And
it was a
week practice day. Yeah, it was a week one. Yeah, typical just one day deal. Yeah. Yeah,
and I was like, I said, I'm sorry. She goes, no, like that stuff needs to be out there because they don't really know. And now and what's funny is he's doing country he's got a bunch of gigs right now doing
Okay, so
music and stuff.
tell him to call me on that too. I can break his heart.
Right. So
Get a long list of
like,
people because it's a rough road too.
So I mean, it's just, it is what it is, and we all know.
So I got the title for this episode. Todd Castledine ruins bass fishing dream for child. I think that's what I'm gonna call this one. That's what I'm going to call this one. Todd Castledine, Dream Crusher. I think that's what I'm gonna call it.
Dream Smasher.
Dream Smasher Castledine.
Yeah.
You have probably been a Dream Smasher at times when you just pulled up at a ramp and paid your entry fee for some old boy that thought he was fixing to win at some point in your career, multiple times in your career. There have been these Todd Castledine runs that I'm sure you watched somebody's posture go, oh man.
It felt like I used to have those runs are getting, I think they're just getting harder in general for everyone to do that though. I don't know what it is, but I just think guys are getting better. I think in overall, guys are getting better, and there's just more ways to catch them, and it's hard to stay on top now.
Man,
I
had that in my notes.
So?
Yeah, I had that in my notes to ask you because there was a time like you've won over $500,000 in quote pro tournament earnings, right? Like the websites publish that stuff, but dude, between Bass Champs and Triple T and other things out there, I mean, you've told me and I've stayed there at the house where you and Cecil stayed so many times, all the plaques, all the trophies from Rayburn, Toledo. But man, you guys won all over the state and outside of the state, obviously. But like you guys went on some runs that were just insane and really not that long ago. But it doesn't seem to be it's never easy. It's fishing. But you guys did dominate. And I was going to ask you that. Do you think the overall strength of these fields is getting better?
So yes, I do believe that. What I'll say, and Russell says this all the time. Russell said this, and I'll kind of piggyback what Christy made a comment, and you can tie the two together. But Russell always said is like, man, eventually you start teaching people.
Yes,
and what he means by that is we'll go to certain lakes and man, if you're the first to figure it out,
yes,
like something, and it'll be it's not our home. Well, take away the home lake. When we go to these other lakes, we'll do a lot of the stuff we do there, at this other lake where those guys are not used to it. And then they're like, what are those guys doing over there doing that? And eventually they start learning it. Well, the problem is when you first do it, you can lose. You can like get 10 bites, miss 10 of them, lose 7, and win a tournament by 6 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. And then 2 years later, you go there and you have to be perfect to make a top 5. Right. So, I mean, it starts changing, and we just noticed that. And because it's funny because YouTube wasn't a thing, and I'm not saying it's YouTube, but when we first did it, we were probably the most secretive people you'd ever meet when it came to fishing.
For sure,
like no doubt. And I mean, with everything. And so we were I just say, because that's where the money was. But the problem is, and I've probably had more discussions over the past 6 months, and it's only going to get worse. So anyone listening to this, I'm about to smash everyone's dreams.
Here we go. Todd Castledine, Dream Smasher. Let's hear it.
Yeah. All these tournaments that are, and I don't want to get into it because I've talked too much about it, but the money used to be in tournaments, but it's not anymore. And it's going to be I hope it doesn't last too long. I don't know how many months. Hopefully it doesn't last more than a year, but you're going to see less and less money in all these tournaments because of just our economy.
Yep.
And so, but back then there was a lot of money involved in it. So that's where the money making was, but now it's not. It's just really not. And that's, that's part of the problem. And so I don't know what it is, man, but it is harder. It is harder to get on those runs like we used to have. And, I think I was fishing a lot more, and I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just different. But we're getting older. I don't know.
Well, here's what I think it really, I mean, obviously technological advancements, are changing things, whether it's Live Scope 360, whatever. Like, it really has made the playing field way more competitive, I think. You still got to be able to catch them, all that, but like, it has certainly opened up windows for people and doors big time that ordinarily might not have caught them frogging against Todd Castledine. You know what I'm saying? Like, but here's where I think, and I'm so glad that you said what you did on tournament winnings in general. I talked to Stephen Browning about this on the show a few weeks, and he said this. He said, "Look, man, 100,000 is not 100,000 anymore. It's just not. But he said we are paying entry fees and fishing for the same money we were in the early 2000s and late 90s." And he said, and if anything, it's gotten worse. The championships play less. Forest Wood Cup's gone. Nobody pays $500,000 anymore, right? Unless it's the Johnny Morris one and done Super U.S. Open Championship that he had. But other than that, like, nobody's paying that kind of money. So what it has led to, and my buddy Brad Knight says this, we have, and you are a prime example. You are one of the most secretive guys that I've ever been around. You get something locked in your hand, you don't want the world to know about it. But, and I know you still got a lot of secrets, don't get me wrong, but as an industry, especially pro fishermen, had to sell their souls for sponsors because the tournament winnings aren't there. Sponsors aren't paying as much. And guess what? Guess what came a knocking? Oh, hey guys, we need you doing YouTubes, TikToks, Instagrams. You got to make 11 posts a month on Facebook for this bait company and that. And so, dude, everything's just out there now, right? It's just out there.
So this is all I'm going to get. I'm going to make it real short and quick. In 2010, in 2010, we won a boat. Me and my buddy Brent, we won a 21-foot Legend with a 225 mark on it. Now, go try to find anywhere that gives away a 21-foot boat, right? Yeah. This was at a championship. This was 10 years ago, or 12 years ago, we won this boat. And that's just one example. Every other thing we used to fish for back in there, listen, I don't bring up pro tournaments hardly at all because that is not reality, right? That is a 0.1% of people. So I always bring it back to, this is why I always try to bring it back to everyone else. Because I fish what everyone else fishes.
Yes. Man,
we were fishing for 15, 20 grand. Like you said, early 2000s. Our entry fees were $200 to $300.
Which is crazy to think about, yeah.
15 to 20 years later, our entry fees are $200 to $300. And yet our payback might be the same. But here's the other thing. As I tell everyone, boats, name me one thing that'll say the same.
No,
boats,
of course.
Trucks,
cost
rods,
of living, period.
Reels, line, everything has gone almost doubled, and we're still out there fishing for the same amount. And I always jump on everyone. I'm like, and so I'll bring up, this is the one time I'll bring up the tour or any of the major tours. I said, back then the entry fees were half as much, and the payout was at least this, but 99% of the chance it was more than what they're paying out.
Yeah.
So now right? So I said, but here's the difference. Y'all want to complain about not paying big entry fees because I'm in favor of big entry fees on a lower level, not the higher level
for a bigger payout,
but the lower level.
Yes,
because you just said it. The payout on the lower level, if you put more into the entry fees, you get more money
You're gonna
back.
Get paid, yes.
That is not what's going on at the pro level.
No, that's how they pay for their tours.
Correct. And I want to be like, this is the one time that you're actually going, if you pay more money in, you'll get more money out.
Yes.
That's not what happened at that. So I was like, y'all should be wanting more money. But that's all I'm going to say on that. And Stephen Browning is right. And
for sure.
It just frustrates me so much.
And I have this also, talk about your perspective. Like, you are a guy, not to not to blow your head up, you're a confident dude. You know your talents as an angler, but dude, you are one of the, in my opinion, one of the best fishermen in the country. And you've been on incredible runs. You've qualified for the Elite Series. You've won the Toyota Series Angler of the Year multiple times, but you got a shot through a sponsorship deal you qualified multiple times for the FLW Tour, but you fished it for a couple years. And once that sponsorship deal went away, you were like, hey man, I'm out. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to put my family at risk. And I respect that about you, because any man that can lay that ego to the side and just say, yeah, I'm not going to do this. It makes more sense for me and my family to do this, even though you could dang sure, because you made the Forest Wood Cup. Like, you can compete at that level. You can qualify for that level. You've proven it time and time and time, but you have chosen a different path. And I think that's amazing, man. But is that for you though? The main reason of that, is it just the travel? Is it the overall expense? What is the brutal reality of that keeps you from going, you know what, I'm going to fish the Elite Series? Like, what is that for you? Or I'm going to stay on the pro circuit. You and I left at the same time, but like, and we that's well documented. We didn't agree with everything going on, obviously, but like, is there one resounding thing for you that keeps you from going, that's what I'm going to do? Because fishing is all you've ever wanted to do.
I would fish. So yes, I probably wouldn't have left the tour, if Costa hadn't gone away.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it, and I know what was going down at the time too, right? So I'm going to try to take that part out of it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Even though I shouldn't take that part of it, because that has a lot to do, because I'm sorry, we were right. I'm just going to throw that. We were right about what went on.
We were right.
I don't think anyone's ever come back and be like, y'all guys were wrong. No.
Oh, there's a few that have said we're wrong. Trust me.
Oh, well, okay. I don't know where we were wrong, but
I think one of them's name is Duckett. I don't know.
Oh, well, yeah. That don't count. I'm talking about the other guy.
Yeah.
But take that away. Just take away, man. If I made the elites this year, I'd probably go try it. The elites, because I think that's a better. The other system is still not a. I mean,
it's just confusing. It's just confusing.
I mean, it's just not like, I don't know if the money's there. I really don't know, and that's not me. Like, if anyone knows me, I'm not
throwing shade.
I'm over all that stuff. I don't really. I quit paying attention. I'd go fish the elites, at least, or I'd at least have a conversation with my wife about it, and my job. I don't think any of that would matter. Just to do it, I think I'm set up now to do it easier. I think my sponsors would be more happy if I went the elite route.
For sure, yeah.
So I would do it. The one thing why I don't. And I don't know, some people are going to get this, some people won't. It's not a big deal to me. I have 1,000 different things that could say yay, yes, or no, right? It's pretty easy, because I've always tried to view fishing as, I look at it from, trusting in the Lord and what he wants. Mm-hmm. And so when all that went down with FLW, it was such an easy decision for me to walk away, because every door that I thought I had, he closed on me. And then he opened up these other doors, and I was like, and I followed, and it's been good. And so I learned a long time ago, when I was 26 years old, I started just putting all my faith in him. And when he opens doors, I'll go through them. When he closes them, I don't try to force the issue. So it is very, do I want to fish some of those major ones? Yes, Luke, big time.
Yeah.
But he'll, when I say closing doors, it's not like I don't qualify or something. It's just going, hey man, this makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Timing or life events, right. Or yeah, for sure.
Correct. And so, like, I qualified for the tour last year, and they are like, you going to go? I'm like, no, man, I got this new job. I mean, I've been on this new job, and I don't see anything changing over there. Like, I don't know. I think I'm in a pretty good spot. This is pretty cool what I'm doing now. And I'm still getting to fish, everything. And it didn't there. If I don't make the elites this year, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I didn't qualify, and he didn't want me going that route.
Yeah.
And if he did, I would have to see. I mean, he might be like, he might shut some other doors even if I did qualify, and I'll be okay with that. And over the years, I've learned that he makes a lot better decisions than I do. So I'm going to follow his lead, not mine. Pretty simple. And that's really what it is.
So, I mean, you've almost or have qualified for the elites, what, 3 times now? I guess.
No, I've just qualified once.
Once. Oh, I thought it was like 3 times.
No, well, I might have. I don't remember what happened another time. It was a long time ago.
There was one early in your career, yeah.
And then I didn't fish them for like 4 or 5 years because, man, it was a while. I stopped fishing because I kept going to the rivers, and because I'm still not just thrilled about. There's some things with the. The schedule's horrible, and I get all that in the payback. But besides all that, I still think that they could do a better job of creating a system that more resembles what you're going to be qualified into. They do a better job than the Toyotas and everything, but the 4 weeks of practicing for some people.
Yes. Endless information.
Endless information. 200 guys. It becomes it's just a different deal. Going to rivers that you would never go to if they were,
elite.
Yeah.
Like they ain't going to Ross Barnett or Red River.
Yeah. Let's go to Red River. Hey, by the way,
they have been to Ross, but
yeah. We're going to St. Lawrence, by the way. I'm like, okay, well, some guy using a little John boat on the Red River wins the event and goes, I can't catch them on the St. Lawrence River or Lake Erie.
And my 13-foot John boat that I used to get in this pond.
Yeah. So but I mean, whatever, it is what it is. There's going to be guys on there that go say whatever. And I'm like, hey, look, I'm not dogging. I'm just saying, I just think I would love a 3-day practice. I would love a 2 week off limits, to 3-day practice.
It would make the tournaments better. Way better.
Yeah, they would.
Way better. Fish catch wise. I don't care. The 200 boats thing, there are a lot of tournaments that have 200 boats, but I do. You got freaking that many people, that many days beating them up. Like, it would make the events way better, weight-wise, and it would make them more competitive, I feel like, too. Now, the opens are certainly flawed. Let me ask you this, and the rumor mill is always stirring up. Are you hearing that there could be another level of bass coming? Because I have heard that.
Heard it one time.
Yeah, I've heard
it, and
I think it's needed.
I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Now we won't listen until it's announced. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, I guess. But I think, and for those, the rumor that I have heard out there, and no clue whether it's true or not, is there could potentially be a level between the opens and the elites. That is a full-time, like several tournaments, but that would be the series that you then qualify for the elites. That is more like the elite series.
Right, because I think we need 100 more professional anglers.
Todd Castledine, everybody, there it is. I knew it was coming.
I mean,
100 more pros.
We're up to 400. We're up to 450 now. Let's get it 550.
But no, the math doesn't work because the guys that are going to fish that are already professionals in the opens and Toyotas and whatever else they fish. You know that.
Are they?
I think it's going to be. I don't think you're going to all of a sudden, because I would assume that if they do something like that, you will have to qualify through the opens or something, or based on your whatever track record in the open. I don't know how they would do it, especially year one. How do you feel? It's like the NPFL when we started. People were like, "Well, how do you guys decide?" It's like, who signs up? And we call them and like, hey, man, are you crazy? No? All right. Have you bass fished before? Yeah. Okay. No, it was a little bit more thorough than that. But I'm just saying, like, it's hard to, because there was a lot of pushback on NPFL in the beginning. And you and I have had these conversations where people were like, oh, this guy's not this or he's not that. But when you're filling a field for the very first time, like, where do you get them from? So that's going to be interesting if that does eventually happen to see. But I think it is needed because the payouts in the open suck. And I think that if you could make the payouts in that series better than the opens, and guys who spend and it's their decision to do this, but spend all their time, energy, effort, and money chasing the opens for little reward. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be cool for guys to be able to make a living through another series that's not BPT, elite series, top level stuff.
So let me,
Are we fixing to go? We're fixing. This is where we go sideways. I like it.
So no, me and you will agree, but I'm just going to ask you this. And so this is, I already had the same conversation. Let me ask you this. I agree that it would be better on everything you just said. Agree with all that. The only thing I'm going to ask you is this. You made one comment about making a living. Okay. How is any, okay.
I did. Yeah.
I consider making it, you might know where I'm going. I know
where you're going.
Probably like, no.
I'm going to say at the end of this, I'm going to go, yes, I basically stepped on a mousetrap for Todd, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I consider making a living,
that's all you do.
More off, like nowadays it's hard to just do it off of tournament winnings. I get it.
We talked about that. Yeah.
And I did it for years.
Hard.
I did it for 10 to 12 years. It's literally how I got my job. It's literally how I got noticed from Phil March. Striking was because of that. But what I'll say to that is if you're fishing the opens right now and you're trying to qualify for the elites, I haven't done the math, but I guess there's less than 10 people. I mean, obviously it's going to be pretty much the guys who've won an event, but pretty much 10 out of the 200. So, 5% of the guys could somehow make a living to a small degree. Like that's all, like no one's making a living right now fishing the opens. So how are that many guys doing it?
Oh, listen, I saw.
Right. So so that argument of going, hey, they could make a living. And I'm like, well, they don't, I guarantee there's half those guys, 90% of those guys could go fish the opens for the next 7 years. They're not going to make any money doing it. So how are they continually doing it? So do they really need another place to go make the so-called living?
Listen, I don't disagree.
I have no idea how they do it.
I don't either. And I saw a post this week from a young man that down on his luck fishes the opens. Very good dude, but basically asking for some help, man. And he had a freaking GoFundMe link to just trying to cover some of his expenses. And he's, in all 9 opens and for the second or third year in a row, but that was such a dose of reality for me is like, dude, people just throw everything they got into this, but there's not a lot coming back. Now, granted, people listen to this show, that listen every single week, the low-lifers out there doing their normal, whatever it is they do, 9 to 5, so they can go fishing on the weekends. They're like, shut up, you crybabies. Just don't fish. That's what my wife always says. Like, working at TH Marine, and you know this, man, it's like the sponsor chase is very difficult. I've been on both sides of it, and it's very difficult. It's harder now than ever. You know that. And it's not a company's responsibility to pay you just because you want to fish those tournaments, right? Like that. I think and I think there's a misconception. Hey, I qualify for the Elite Series. Can I have 50,000? Sorry, did you not have a plan before you qualified? You know what I'm saying?
And let me explain to some of those low-lifers and those guys, because they should know me a little bit. I've heard me and you complain about things.
Yeah.
About how something's done. What we've never done ever, I could, and I'm not saying they said this about you, but we've never cried about something and still done. Like we are actually the guys that complain about it and go, well, watch us walk away.
Yeah. I was going to say, I kind of and you did too, and Upshaw and several of us put our money where our mouth was. I was like, I don't agree with this, so I'm just going to take my ball and go somewhere else, right? And for me, it was kind of a time of, you and I've talked about this a lot. It was like a introspective, whatever you want to say. I can't talk today. But like, more retrospective. But I looked like, and introspective, where I kind of looked at myself like in that gap, because like then the COVID stuff happened right after I stepped back from the tour. And some of the reasons that I stepped away from the tour, I felt really good about. I still miss it. I miss being out there, but for 100%. Me, man, it's like, but I miss like hanging out with our buddies and like blast off mornings, weigh in. Like I do miss all of that, but like as a whole, I can tell you my passions in life as my kids have gotten older, my professional, like what I want to do, like where my focus at in life is not. And look, when I was 12 years old, it was, oh my God, I want to be Kevin Van Dam and I want to win all these tournaments. And look, man, if you told me tomorrow I could go win 10 elites in a row, make every class, absolutely, sign me up. That's awesome. But it's not. I'm not as hungry as what I should say is I'm not as hungry as some of these dudes that are willing to sleep in the bed of a truck, go fish all 9 open, spend $497,000 in gas to go do it, and not make a dime. Like I'm not that obsessed with it anymore.
But I've never been. I've never been because my hunger came because I had no idea. I had to fish a certain way or I couldn't fish anymore. And so I don't think anyone ever understood that, is that like when I put up rent money to go fish tournaments when I was in college,
I love that.
Or they're like, why'd you fish that small event this week? And I'm like, to make $200. They're like, was it worth it? I'm like, well, I have $200 more than I did before.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, you might make $200 for the next 6 weeks. I'm like, you're right. But then I'll hit one. And so I had to hit one, or they don't think they realize that I wasn't going to fish. And like, if I had a bad 4 to 5 months, I wasn't going to fish ever again. So the hunger was there. It wasn't this hunger to chase this blue trophy
or known
do this
or whatever. Yeah.
Right. I don't think they realized I was like, man, I was trying to pay bills.
You were literally fishing to eat, like, but not at a national level. You were just like, hey, I'm going to get in this and I'm going to go fish this and that. Like we've talked about that. Like,
you can't do that for that. Yeah.
No.
You can't do that for 10 years and go, hey, by the way, stop thinking in that manner.
Yes.
No. So I still cannot, I still think in that manner. So when I see a small tournament pop up, and like, you going to fish this? I'm like, no, it's not worth it. I'm there. I'm able to now pick and choose, right? But I still won't pick a bad one. I'm still going to now I'm just able to pick really good ones when before I had to pick them all. So, but like I said, I don't complain about those things.
You choose not to participate.
We're not crying about it and whining, because there's a bunch of people that whine and cry and then don't fish any tournament. And you're like, hey, I don't want to. No, we don't do stuff, but I'm giving you. We're also giving you solutions. Like I might complain about something and then go, what if we did this? Mm-hmm. And this is a better way to do it. And this is why I think we should do it. Like I'm not just crying and going, well, that's all you got. So, we're trying to explain sometimes to people what's out there, a better solution or a better way, or why we did it, not just, well, that's horrible, and then we just leave it at that.
Well, I think it's just the reality of it. It's like you taking the high school kid. We have hundreds and hundreds and thousands even of these high school, tournament anglers now, college, and man, I just feel like we do them a disservice by not telling them, unless they got a mom and dad with a trust fund, hey, bud, this ain't easy. It's just not to be negative, not to be a naysayer. It's like, this is not going to be easy. You are not going to be Jordan Lee tomorrow just because you decided to be. It is a very, very long, hard road, and it gets harder by the minute, man. And we started this interview by talking about, like, it is way harder than it was 20 years ago. Way harder.
I've said some things, that I'm just going, God, I probably shouldn't have done. That was a little hard. It's not harsh, but I'll have going like, hey man, like, can you give me some advice? Like, how do you know if you're good enough? And it always pops up and I go, oh man, just keep entering tournaments and see what happens. And I say that because it's like, you'll know really quick if you're good enough. If you're good enough, you'll make money but if you are continually lose money, I'm telling you, it might not be your thing, and like I said, what I've learned though, too, in this industry, and I think this is where Russell Cecil, there's some guys, I think me now, I think there's a lot of guys like us. We're all still fishing.
Absolutely.
We're all in the industry, but we're all in the industry.
Yeah, I'm working.
And I was going, look, this industry is huge. And so figure out something within the industry, and it will help you out because the connections you make, and there's jobs out there. And so, fishing can still lead you somewhere. It just doesn't necessarily have to lead you where you might think it was. And sometimes it might lead you in a better place.
Look, man, my story is that. I mean, I fished, and there was no college fishing when I was growing up because I'm old as dirt. But like, we didn't have that. And I fished the opens, and dude, I met the guys that own TH Marine fishing the opens, and they're like, "Hey, we want to give you a job." I turned them down 2 years in a row while I was in college. Like, "Hey, you should come talk to us." And I'm like, "I'm going to fish." I was like, "I'm going to fish forever." And then I graduated college, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm not going to fish forever if I don't start winning some more money than I'm winning." And so, dude, and I kind of, in a roundabout way, though, I went to work, and then everything kind of worked out to do whatever this is, my thing is now. But I am still addicted to bass fishing. I always will be. I love it. It is just that it's that tournament, like, and not being obsessed with tournaments. I've spoke to you about it, talked on here about it a ton, like fishing those ABT 100s with Trey, the Alabama Bass Trail 100s Trace one. Like, I've had more fun. We've had 2 of those this year. More fun this year fishing those than I did the last 2 years I fished the tour, man. Like, whether I had a good tournament or a bad tournament, like, those have been a blast to fish. And I've been fishing tournaments, like little local stuff with my son, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, that fires me up now. And I hate to even say this because I have great people that support me, that want me in these events, per conversations I have with them. But like, I don't get fired up driving to a Bassmaster Open like that. I just don't.
No,
I don't, because I know what it's going to be, the crap show of 200 and whatever, all the things we talked about. So I don't get as fired up about those.
What I get fired up on is leaving my Rayburn. Like, I'm not a big, I mean, I have to fish Rayburn a bunch, but I love leaving Rayburn. Like, I love it. Like, most of those Rayburn guys hate it. I love it. I can't wait to get away from it. But what's crazy is I think I'll fish 20. I think on the schedule, I've got 27 tournaments.
It's half the year
that I'll fish this year,
or half the weekend of the year.
Yeah, which is nothing. So I used to average 42 to 47 is what I used to average for 10 years. So yeah, like, having a month off in July is strange to me.
Very weird.
Very weird. But what's crazy is, and so when we got here last night, I stayed up with my father-in-law, and because I drove all night, and he was up waiting around, and of course everyone went to sleep, and we were downstairs, and we got to talking about. I was asking about his job, and I see him all the time, but we're just down there, and we were talking about, he's like, "Hey, what's been lately on the job?" And I was telling him about this new deal, this new thing I'm working on. And so we got just more in depth about kind of what I do, and some of, like, he's like, "Well, I mean, are you an engineer?" I'm like, "Well, I don't, here's what I'll tell you is this." And then I explained to him, I said, "Man, I have the coolest job in the world." I don't know if anyone knows this.
So, I was going to say, Strike King Lure Company. Let's set it up for the folks at home, because it's really cool. And I know you talk about it on your stuff.
So,
but.
I guess now, I don't even know my title, but I'm pretty much in charge of any innovation that comes through Strike King.
He's in charge of pop and purchase. That's it.
Yeah. So anything really new, not like something like a new, like a revised bait, but like something like, well, I'm working on like a ton of new projects. They're like, I don't think anything out there is like anything we're working on. That they're all crazy, weird, different stuff. But I got that job through Phil Marks, just being on the boat with them one day. But it all started when he was asking me about it. He was like, "Well, he heard me say something about, I made a comment, and Phil told me this a while back, because I was like, why are you letting me do this and not someone else? Like, I know why I think I'm good, but like, what do you see?" He's like, "Well, look, man, I can give a jig to a lot of our pros, and they'll beat you all day long. They'll beat everyone else in the country, but they might not really understand. Like, they're just maybe good at fishing a jig better than everyone else." And he said, "Well, explain that to me." So I kind of explained that to him. And I said, "Man, for whatever reason, I was really good at understanding like
Hard baits.
certain baits, baits and movements and ideas and thoughts about things and why it moves and what we need. And I was like, that's what I understood. And I was like, but here's the crazy part. And I don't know if anyone really knows this. I hope I have a time, but I'll make it real quick. When I was young and first started bass fishing, of course, I was just fishing off the bank, walking the marina every day. And there was a guy I fished my first tournament with was named Mark Malone. And he was on the boat and he saw me walking the bank as a little kid and he gave me a Lure Jensen speed trap. Well, I didn't know it. I'd never fished crankbait before. So I took that crankbait, caught a whole bunch of bass walking the bank, ended up catching this like 40-pound Opelousas off the bank. And I went in Cold Spring, Texas, one of the head sales rep for Lure Jensen, a man by the name of Ken Seifert, had an office in Cold Spring where I lived. And so I went and showed him that bait. Well, he's like, well, here you go. And gives me a box. After, we talked and whatever, he gives me a box. And I guess I was maybe 15
I was going to say, how old are you at this point? Yeah.
Man, I don't know, man. Maybe my dad drove me up there. Maybe I was 15. I don't know. I was not 16, I don't think. And he gives me this whole big old box of baits. I'm like, go try these out. And so I went and tried those out. So I wasn't trying to catch bass with him to a degree. I was, but I went out there trying to catch fish every day. I was trying to catch fish with certain baits. And so I learned about a whole bunch of baits really, really quick. Good, bad, the bad, the ugly, right? All of it. And then I'd go back and tell him what I did, and he'd give me more baits, and this went on for years. Well,
that's awesome.
Then fast forward, a buddy of mine named Justin Buckholz, who I was fishing with, knew this saltwater guy named Billy Howe, who me and Billy Howe, I talked to him freaking once a week. He's my saltwater guy I go with, and he was with this company called Strike Pro. And I didn't know what Strike Pro was. And I get introduced to Strike Pro. And what does Strike Pro have? Thousands of baits that no one in the U.S. had ever seen before in boxes. And I got to go mess with thousands of baits. Well, that's two instances that probably not hardly anyone in the country ever had given to them. Yeah. I wouldn't say given to them. I was just exposed to it. And so I was able to mess around with tons of baits to this day that no one probably in the United States have ever seen, especially with Strike Pro. And it forced me to learn things about certain things, right? And you never know if you had a diamond in the rough or 10 baits that were horrible, but I just spent a lot of time messing with things and it became my stick, if you want to, that I figured out like, oh man, I can go throw this bait against 200 guys in an open and they all have to outfish each other. I can just use this bait that these fish have never seen and beat them. And so I did that even around Rayburn and places. And it became where I couldn't hardly go throw something that was normal. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, everyone's throwing a spinner bait. Not doing that because it got ingrained in me that I won a lot of tournaments throwing stuff that people didn't know about. Well, then all of a sudden that led to Strike King's deal. So I didn't realize it at the time. And by the way, I didn't realize this was a job.
You didn't know this was like have a nameplate on a desk.
Yeah. No one really knows that like someone's out there inventing baits, right? You just
they just show up at ICAST in a
correct.
Yeah. It's the new product showcase, but somebody's been working years a lot of times on it.
Yeah. So I was prepped for this in my childhood and up until whatever, not knowing this. So when I go back to your other question about, hey, are you fish, what about fishing the tour? I'm like, dude, he's opened a lot of doors for me that I didn't even realize were doors to be open. So I like I said, there's opportunities out there, and because I didn't know this was an opportunity. So yeah, like my job's pretty awesome. Like I can't wait for ICAST, and how ICAST is, right? It's ICAST is right. A lot of fun to be had. Me and you will have might meet up and go have a good time, right? And that's the part I enjoy. But I'm actually enjoying the working process because
leading up to it.
Yeah, because I'm not going there as a professional fisherman. I'm not saying I am one, but like that. Yeah. I'm going to it from the Strike King Lou side. So I enjoy it now way more than I would years ago. So that's a little insight into that of,
Yeah.
but like I said, there's two guys, me and you, I brought up Russell because of how he at a younger age was smarter than us and goes, I want to do something so I can fish all the time. And so he went and instantly got a job within the industry to fish. So, I mean, there's ways to do it other than, hey, I'm going to be this professional fisherman and live life on the road, eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, living in the bed of my truck.
Hey, but my truck and boat route, they're going to be clean, son. They're going to be clean.
Right. So there's different ways.
For sure, man. Well, I think it goes without saying, like, I'm super proud to know you. I'm proud of everything that you're doing, especially currently, man. Like, it's inspiring that you, like this Strike King deal. It just makes me smile for you. Like, it is, because I love talking baits with you, because I'm a bait geek. Like, I love tackle, like tinkering with tackle, and it's very fitting that you are in that role, just from your, man, you can nitpick some stuff to death bait wise. So let me tell you why this is bad. And like, you've shown me things. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Why that's not as good as it should be. And man, I just gotta say congrats on that. And I'm proud for you, dude. It's awesome.
Hey, I appreciate it, but I'm not gonna throw in this, but I'm gonna say one thing. On Rayburn, me and you shared the boat one day. Remember that?
Yeah, we did.
And you threw something. You threw something out there.
I threw an X brand crankbait that was like something you were throwing, but wasn't anything.
No. You threw a topwater. You threw a topwater.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And
That's right.
you caught a 2-pounder. And here's the funny thing: like, you caught a 2-pounder, and I'm sure if anyone's listening, going, so Luke Duncan catches a 2-pounder. What? And I looked at that fish and I go. And I'll never forget, I'm like, huh. And let me tell you something. I have no idea, Luke, how many. I'm just telling you, man, every lake, everywhere, it is tidal. It is insane to me. And I see no one throwing it. And it's nothing special. This is nothing so you have taught me, like, look, that is something, and I have kept it. When I say it's secret, there is nothing secret about this bait, other than the fact no one really knows I throw it. That's the only secret. And it's pretty funny. It is not secretive. It is probably maybe everyone in the country has one. But it's funny but still, like, those things are pretty neat. Like you said, I mean, you showed me something that day. Just off a 2-pounder. But I knew off that 1 2-pounder, I saw what happened. I'm like,
you saw the bite and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I love it when it all, like, you see it and go, oh, okay.
Yeah, all of a sudden 2 + 2 equals 4 real fast. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, real fast.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And you can tell, dude, like, I've talked to guys on the show about it a bunch, and just hanging out with buddies. When you get one that is special, whatever that is, lure-wise, you can tell. You can always tell. It's either how they bite it, where they've got it when you get them in. You know what I'm saying? How, like, you can always tell, I feel like, when it's a special one.
Yeah. Mullins. I don't even know.
Mullins.
People really don't know Mullins. Mullins is a character among himself.
And David Mullins is absolutely one of the greatest characters in bass fishing history that just nobody knows that.
I don't think they really know the depths of Mullins. No. But Mullins will call me up out of the blue and usually dogs everything I do. Hates shallow fishing, hates that. This has changed, by the way. So if you ever see him, be like, he is now the anti-deep fisherman.
Because everybody's out there now.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So he's actually calling me more, going, yeah. So I sent him a bait or two one time in 2 years. And you know how he is. He don't let it go. He will literally call you up and tell you how bad this bait is forever.
Yes, he'll browbeat you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so bad. And then so he comes down there, and they were going to Fork, I think, a year or two ago, and he comes out with me on Lake Nat because he's got a day to kill, and we're out there messing around, and it wasn't really time to throw. And I'm like, hey, let's go throw. Catches a 5-pounder, 1 5-pounder in like 5 minutes on it. I'm like, oh, I guess they're gonna bite this, dude. It's nonstop with me now. But he hated it. He's like, dude, that thing's never caught a fish, and now it's deep. And so but like you said,
the way to go.
But you know what it did? One.
That's right. No, that's it.
And from one, I don't know what he's done, But like you said, I don't know if people realize that one fish changed his whole perspective on everything. And he goes, huh. And it clicked. And I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen with multiple guys on multiple things where it's one deal and you're like, oh my, and then you feel really kind of stupid that
you missed it for so long or whatever the case is.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because we're all skeptics at heart, like because of the way marketing works, like everything is sold to you like it is the deal. Oh my gosh, this is like dynamite. These bass are fixing to come in the boat. And more times than not, yeah, you can get bid on things, but it's not just that absolute, I hate the term game changer, but a game changer. And when you get one, you know it. You know it, man.
Yeah.
You definitely do.
And I will say I'm better now. And what happened was the Strike Pro changed that. Strike Pro, when I was with them, I would have these baits, and since I had to go throw them, like I had to, all of a sudden one would, and I mean, the first one ever was like a Flex Phantom, and we ended up like winning 20 grand on it in a Bassin, but like we blew it out. And I was just looking back going, I would have never have tried that.
You'd have never walked in a tackle store and bought it. No, never.
Yeah.
Never.
And so I started. And so now when someone gives me a bait, I can tell you, I'll look at it and do all that stuff, but I will go throw it with zero preconceived notions on, because I've been wrong. And I've seen everyone else, like really great fishermen, be wrong. And so I'm like, okay, like just go out there. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. Because usually when you find one of those, it's so good and no one else has it, because, you don't see it for what it is. So like I said, that's kind of open. I think that's why I've been able to, have this job I have, because now I can sit back and go, man, I look at everything pretty openly now. With awesome. I don't shut doors pretty quick. So.
And I think as fishermen, we do get too caught up in, oh, well, that looks dumb, or this is whatever. And it's like you said, you got to take it to the lake. You got to throw it in a swimming pool. You got to watch the action. But ultimately, and I said this, like I made a post earlier this spring on Brandon Paul and his glide bait. And I said, look, I'm not a swim bait guy. I'm not a swim bait expert, a big swim bait. But I was like, here are the critics. And it's hanging out of a 6.5 pounder's mouth. And you're like, I get bid on this swim bait. It's a $20 swim bait. And I don't have any $200 glide baits, but I can tell you they do like this one. So go pick some up. You know what I mean? It's like, right. But that's how I decide. Like if I get bit, we all have the things we like to throw that we know work. So when you get a new lure, and that's one reason I'm grateful to be with like a company like Bait-Wrx, like a tackle company, tackle store, is I get to try everything. You know what I mean? And you're not under this.
That's huge.
It's huge. It's so much fun, because I'm like, give me some of these. Like I'll call or get online, I'll order these, and I take them and try them. I'm like, and if they're good, I can either choose to say they're good and show people, or I don't have to. What I'm getting at is tackle companies, and you know this, when you're sponsored by just one tackle company, everything they come out with, whether it's garbage or not, they want you pushing it. And that's fair, whatever. But I was always, and I've butted heads with companies over this, if I don't get bid on it, I ain't going to tell somebody to buy it. Like if I don't, if I take it out and it's like, this is garbage, like I'm not going to make a post about it. Like I'm just not.
Right.
It's not okay.
If you watch my YouTube channel, and that's why I was like, I'm proud of, I'll be honest with you. I'm really proud of my YouTube channel. And what I'm proud about it is, look, man, I've been saying certain things on Facebook and Instagram and what I talk about, but man, you want to go, I'm not proud of my YouTube videos of when people just go to the lake. I want you to go watch my opens and my tournament videos and all that stuff. Cause I'm like, see what I'm throwing. It's my strike. It's the stuff I actually do videos on, and yet I'm doing them in the tournaments where everything's on the line.
Yes.
And so I always is like, hey man. And so, yes, I agree. Strike King makes, Strike King makes, 300 baits, right?
Yeah, you can't.
I can't go throw 300 baits. So I have the stuff I'm good at, and that's the stuff I throw. And they got other guys to push the other things, and I'm sure they're good. And I've thrown almost everything we have, but where we live, the lakes we fish. Like my lakes are a lot different than where you are. So,
For sure.
It is what it is. I can't, like there's just spy baits, I'm not the Strike King has one, but it's not one of those things that's going to be crushing fish on Rayburn. Have I caught fish on
Toledo,
Rayburn?
yeah, you're not
Yes.
gonna,
But it's not going to win a tournament.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, there's a bait by Strike Pro, and it's not even a bait that they meant to make. They made it because it was to show off conservation things. Anyways, I don't want to get into it much, but anyway, but there's something on this bait that is the worst. and I am 100% successful when I show someone this bait, and it's so big and massive and stupid. And I'm like, what's the worst thing on this bait? And they kind of look around and they're like, well, this is kind of, it's kind of dork, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Corny,
I don't even know what to say because it's so corny. And I'm like, that's the best thing about that bait. And they're like, what? I'm like, hey, look, when I first got it, it's the dump. I don't even know why they would put that on there. And I went and threw it, and what it did in the water. Now, I promise you, they did not mean for it to either.
This is complete accident. Yeah.
1,000%. And because the way I work the bait is not how you're supposed to work it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not doing it because it wasn't a bait. It was a bait to be set on the shelf. And so, and I'm using this thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, I'm telling you right now, it will be on a Strike King bait at some point in time in the future. I'm not saying we're working on it. I'm telling you, I'm going to take that and put that somewhere. That concept, because I think it's so cool. And that's what and that kind of leads back to the conversation of like you talking about being open with baits and throwing them. It's not even that a bait it might not even be that bait that's so special. It might just have a quality that like, okay, this really isn't the right bait, but if I can find a bait that does this better, like that's a win. And I have done that a lot where I found a bait that works pretty good, but it maybe a lot of fish miss it, and then I've hunted around and found, that's a
better
version. A better version of that. And then it works. So yeah, I believe all that stuff helps.
It does, man.
So go to your local tackle store and go through and go buy every single thing is what we're telling you.
That's what we're telling you. We're telling you to spend all your money not on gas, but on Baitworks.com and at your local tackle stores.
Yeah, at your local site, and just go get it all, and then you're like, hey, 90% of these baits are horrible.
And they are.
You're right.
You're right.
And they are.
And they are.
You might find, there's a diamond in the rough.
I was going to say, there are some gems. There are some gems out there. I'm very bad at spending money on tackle that I throw 3 or 4 times. I'm like, that wasn't hitting on
I know.
Especially like Japanese tackle. Like I'm a dork when it comes to that. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be fantastic. And then
I think everyone is on that stuff, man.
For sure.
It just looks
jumps,
so cool.
Yeah, it just jumps out at you, man. Jumps right off the page online. But
and none of it's in English, so you really don't know what it means. You're like,
I'm pretty sure that says Fish Catcher 5000. I'm pretty sure that's what that says. I'm pretty sure.
Don't show us a video too, because most of the videos are not high quality. But you're like, I think that looks pretty good.
I think that looked like an 8-pounder. Bit that bait. It could not even be the bait that we're looking at. Who knows? I get suckered in by that all the time. Todd Castledine, I appreciate you as always, dude. Get back to that awesome family of yours. Tell them I said hello, and I appreciate you, buddy, very much so.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on here. I always we were doing this in hotel rooms.
We were doing this before it was a thing, right? Yeah, we were
when it was
really low budget.
Yes.
Cell phones and no microphones. Yes, we have done some low budget lives together. And one of these days you're going to roam through Tennessee, and I'm going to have you at the bar and grill. We're going to do one in here. It's going to be fun.
Because I was going to say the last time I did it. Do you remember the last time I was on?
It was.
I was with you in Prosnick, and we were at the classic.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we did one in person. No, I was thinking the last time you called, that was like 2019.
No, at the bar at the when you ran
it was Birmingham.
Library.
No, in Texas. Yeah, Texas. That's right. Yeah. I'll be honest, Todd. That night, something happened to me. Somebody poisoned me with Jack Daniels. And I don't remember a lot after the podcast that night. shout out to my buddy Michael Roby and Shannon Wheeler for taking care of me that night. But they just kept bringing this brown juice up there.
Well, I was with Prosnick all night, so I don't know how that worked out. I mean, I worked out.
I know exactly how that worked out. I know exactly.
And then my boy from TX Whiskey, who's like the head distiller from TX Whiskey, showed up. So, yeah.
Prosnick will get you in trouble. I've got some Prosnick stories I will share on the air at some point. I had a long night in New Orleans with Prosnick and Luke Clausen that will get told at some point in my life on this show, but not today.
Well, I like Prosnick's a good.
He's the best. He's the best. I love me some J Pros. All right, Todd. I appreciate you, buddy, very much.
All right, man. Y'all take it easy.
See you. All right. Todd Castledine, man. We always have a great time. Just I told you there's no topic. We're just going to go. Hope y'all enjoyed that. I love talking to him, shooting the bull, picking his brain, and he's fantastic, man. And so truly, I am proud for him. The Strike King deal, getting to design baits, so cool. Filling in the shoes of Phil Marks, who did a lot of that. Phil passed away, I believe it was last year. Great human being. Him and Todd spent a lot of time on the boat together, but Todd picking up there with Strike King, and he's big boy job with Strike King now. Very cool. Going to be down at ICAST seeing him in that different capacity now. He's not walking around. I call this the fisherman handshake. Please give me sponsorship. And I know I'm no different in that, but it's cool seeing him in that role, just down there showing off the new goods. Very cool. So absolutely appreciate Todd coming on. Appreciate each and every one of you tuning in week in, week out. The low-lifers make all this happen. Support the sponsors that support the show. Can't stress that enough. I really appreciate it. I'm going to take you out with some Biloxi Blues. We got some new music coming very soon. I promise you. I know I say that a lot, but plans are in place to do some recording on some new songs and put some things together. So I'm very fired up to hopefully get some stuff recorded this fall. I'm going to take you out with Biloxi Blues, and I will see y'all next week. Be sure to hug your mama. Have a good week. See y'all next time.
From Jacksontown to Tupelo, I never could make it last. Spanish moss and Civil War ghosts, well, I'm gonna leave them in the past. Any direction, Lord, I'll be fine. It don't matter east or west. North, south, wherever the wind blows, I'm leaving those burdens at rest. This highway, it does not know my name, and I don't care, no, I don't care. Heading my way for another place, and I got 3 good tires and a spare. Just a white line gypsy getting out of Mississippi with just enough gas to get there.